Hi, I'm Amanda and I'm your mental wellness coach. Today we're talking about the 5 pillars of personal development. Personal development is just taking yourself from where you currently are to a different place. And this could be in your head and in your heart, and maybe physically, maybe emotionally, maybe financially. So it's just a way of taking yourself higher. So the 5 pillars of personal development are mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and financial. I'm going to go through these one by one, but not in that order. Let's tackle the first one, physical. And the reason I want to tackle this one first is because in some ways it's the easiest, and some ways it's the hardest. It really depends on your background, your knowledge of your support system, and your ability, and lastly, your desire. So there's going to be multiple things that you're going to have to go through in order for the physical pillar to become strong. So let's start baseline. Let's say that you have no background in intentional movement. So you weren't involved in sports, fitness wasn't a thing in your home growing up, and maybe you're just starting out. So if that's you, it's really going to be critical that you find a support system to push you when you don't want to. It's going to be crucial for you to find something that you can stick with. Something short term, something that's moderately easy to do, because we're building in the foundation. Walking, jogging, cycling, those are all basic forms of intentional movement that you can gauge your progress, and that you can generally find somebody that would be willing to do it with you. Now, as we age, the importance of how we're targeting our body changes, but let's just talk about physical in the basic form, because that's what we're here for. Move your body. I really am not here to preach to you all the different things that you can do physically. I'm just here to tell you that moving your body is an important element in your personal development. I've researched habits of 7-figure earners, and movement is critical to their success. It is how they relieve stress. It is how they feel good on the outside, so then they feel good on the inside. It reduces the risk of heart attacks. It helps you sleep better, and it's a mood enhancer. So what I want you to take away from the physical pillar is that we want to be intentional with our movement. We want to move our bodies at least 20 minutes a day. We want to elevate the heart rate so that you start to see some benefit to moving your body. Now, obviously, there's going to be some changes in your body and how it shapes itself depending on the rigorousness of your movement. But let's talk basics. Basics. Just move your body. That's all we need to do here, is move our body and be intentional with it. Schedule it. If you want to go to the next level and you want to talk about different ways to move your body, then we can have that conversation. But I really want you to take from this that I need to be intentional with my movement. It will make me feel better. And in the long run, I may see some added benefits as well. But for now, we want to take care of our brain health, and so we want to be intentional with moving our body. So schedule it, just like you schedule having to be somewhere. Find a buddy that maybe you go take some, free classes here and there. Find something that you like, because that is something that you will stick with. Personally, I like to change it up every couple of months. I will go from, either a different gym, a different style of training, just something so that I don't get bored easily. I also teach. That becomes conditioned movement, so I have to be intentional outside of that. Wrapped up into the physical part is also going to be your nutrition. You'll learn a lot about nutrition, but that is going to fall in line with our physical pillar. So movement and nutrition are going to come together, and that is what is going to strengthen your physical pillar. Okay? Body image and things like that, we'll cover that in a different topic. Okay? All right, so let's move into our next one that is really difficult for people to talk about. So we're going to keep this pretty condensed, but it's an important one, and it's our finances. Now, I'm not a financial consultant. I don't have experience in the industry. I can't tell you about the stock market or anything like that. But I can tell you that telling your money where it's going to go is a pretty cool thing, all right? And I'm also not going to tell you how to spend your money or anything like that. What we're going to talk about here is mindset around money, okay? If you grew up in survival mode, where everything around you was, when we get paid on Friday, if you lived paycheck to paycheck, if I grew up where my mother was a waitress, and so depending on how tips were, that was how good dinner was. So there were nights we had steak, and there were nights we had soup. So it just, if you grew up with that experience and you carry that through into adulthood, that's where we've identified a trauma, okay? That's where we've identified a mindset around money, because that is what we'll call scarcity mode, and that's into survival, where I'm just trying to get my basic needs met, all right? If that is you, then we have to learn how we can make some shifts around it, so that what happened as a child or what happened in the past, this idea isn't tucked away in our purse, isn't tucked away in our suitcase, and that it carries on with us through adulthood. So what can we unlearn about money? Let's go to the flip side. Now, if you never needed for anything, and now you're into adulthood, and you are no longer being given to, and now you're the one who has to provide, there can also be a mindset around that where we're not in survival mode, we're not in scarcity mode, we're almost in this idea of overabundance. And I caution you, because there's going to be shifts that take place, and you want to make sure that your basic needs are always met. There's always going to be something that happens. We've seen it with the pandemic. We've seen it with government shutdown. We've seen it in recession, where money matters. So if you have a mindset around money that gives you negative result now, then we have to unwrap that. We have to find out, identify the trauma around it so that it's not something that is a continuous pattern in our life. And budgeting. Budgeting is good because it's a way of tracking. It's a way of being accountable for your spending. It's a way of saying, okay, well, maybe I'm being frivolous here, or I actually have some wiggle room that I can do this here. So again, I'm not telling you how to spend your money. Please don't take that from this lesson. I just want you to identify if your current patterns are maybe attached to a generational thing, okay? And it could be both ways. It could be an overspending, or it can be, I'm holding on to everything because I live in fear. I have fear around money. Because this is scarcity. This is survival. This is something that how do we break through from this? How do we create abundance mentality, but not to the point of excessive amounts, because then that can be irresponsible. Again, please don't take that I'm telling you how to spend your money. I'm just telling you from the research, from habits of people that do have lots of money. You have to be purposeful with it. And a lot of times we are not, because of something that is rooted in a trauma mindset. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. How I want you to dissect this is to just identify, what type of spender are you? What does your financial pillar look like? Is it strong? Are you like, I'm good, like I've got a job, I do well with my money? Maybe it's as simple as, you know what, I might do one of those things where I check if I have a bunch of subscriptions that I'm paying for that I don't need. Or maybe I'm going to check about my medications and see if it's better for me to pay out of pocket than to use my insurance. I'm going to maybe assess my supplement use if that's something that I'm still finding value in. It's just kind of an opportunity for you to sit back and look at your finances and maybe have a discussion with your partner. Maybe it's time to, make an investment in something. I'm not here to guide you in any of those things. I'm just here to tell you that your financial health is just as important as your mental, as your physical, as your spiritual, and as your emotional. And I have avoided, I'm going to be honest with you here, I have avoided having financial as part of this program because I never wanted anyone to think that I'm telling you how to spend. That is not the message. The message here is, do you have something wrapped up around money that's attached to a trauma? Okay? So that is all that I want you to really take from this. How did you grow up? Is that affecting you now? Is there something that can elevate you from where you are now? Okay? Maybe you go grab a book about something regarding financial that you're curious about. And maybe that's what you take from the lesson. And that's all you need to do. Level your mind around money. Okay? All right, so we're going to go out. We're going to table that. We're going to tuck that away. You probably won't hear there's not going to be much else about financial in this program. So Thank you for sticking through that. It's always a tough one for people to talk about, all right? So we have, what we're going to do next, mental. All right, so our mental pillar is essentially what you're doing here. Your mental is where you're reading books, where you are engaging with podcasts, where you are joining groups that have a similar interest of maybe something that you've always wanted to do. So if you want to write a book, well, join a writer's club. If you want to be a speaker, join Toastmasters. If you want to create a course, then you find people that are doing that. And that is how you increase, how you level up your mental pillar. Your mental health is all about taking care of you, taking care of your mind, elevating yourself, okay? And everything that we're going to do throughout this program is going to build your mental pillar, all right? So I'm not going to go too deep into that one because we're going to spend a lot of time there. We're also going to spend a lot of time in the emotional pillar. Now, the emotional pillar is going to be the place where you have to have an open mind and an open heart so that you can process anything that you might have an attachment to. If it's, the physical pillar and you're dealing with body image or mirror talk or any of those things, then that is something that we are going to discover, we're going to work through. If you have something around money, if you have, mindset around money and you feel like it's keeping you stuck, then that is going to help you in that emotional pillar. You may find a breakthrough. But you have to stay open and ready for the emotions to take place. We also are going to have to learn how to manage those emotions, because if we are constantly letting our emotions drive us, then there are going to be times that you will either push people away, people won't understand you, or you will just overwhelm yourself within the emotion. So we want to learn how to manage the emotion. We want to learn how to hold space for the emotion and understand that we are emotional beings and we will find purpose, we will find love, we will find community, we will find growth when we allow our emotions to be a part of the process, but not dictate the process, okay? So, complement or complicate. How are your emotions? Do you feel like you're all over the place, or do you feel like you can bring it in? If there are things that trigger you, and you'll learn about triggers, if there are things that trigger you, then that is tapping into your emotional pillar. Okay? Let's go into our last one. I'm going to go pretty quick with this one, spiritual. Spiritual is also one that people tend to shy away from when we're having discussions like this, because everyone has a different spiritual guidance that they have in their life. So for the purpose of this program, our spiritual pillar is going to be what we call our higher intelligence, okay? So that will encompass anything that you feel that you are spiritually connected to. So we may reference things such as God, universe, spirit, higher intelligence, and there may be something else that you identify as a higher intelligence, a spiritual connection, okay? So change the wording so that it fits within your personal belief system. Cool? Our spiritual pillar is important to our personal development because it gives us something to look outside of ourselves for. It gives us that the faith to believe in something that we can't see, that drives our emotions, that aids in our decision making. So that will fall into our mental pillar. So the spiritual is going to bring a lot of the things together. Now, when we get into talking about energy channels, energy systems, and such, I really want you to connect that to your spiritual. And again, I'll reference different labels, if you will, because we want this to be inclusive and for everyone to have a connection. And your spiritual is going to be whatever speaks to you. This is an individual choice, but it allows you to have something outside of yourself, something that you can just hold and believe in that's personal. All right? And it is a driving force for a lot of people. So let's bring it all together. When we have our pillars of personal development, we're going to be able to identify areas within all 5 of them that are either strong or weak. So your assignment is going to be to identify that. You know what? I'm doing a workout program. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I work out 45 minutes a day. My physical pillar, but I'm struggling with my nutrition. So I'm strong in my workouts and weak in my nutrition. All right, identify that. Put that on paper. Use that, because that's where that's where you need the focus. Your spiritual pillar. Is there a practice that needs to change? Are you meditating? But are you meditating daily, or are you meditating when you feel like you should? Are you, did you grow up with prayer, and prayer was something that you did as a regular thing, and maybe you're not doing it so much now? Is there space for that to level up? Okay. Into your financial, same thing. Is there something that you could do within your financial pillar that you could level up in? Whatever that is for you, wherever you are, there's always an opportunity that we could level up. And then your mental, you're here. So what do you feel is your biggest struggle with your mindset? That's what I really want you to identify there, because that's going to help you as you move forward. And then emotional. I'd really like you to identify how you feel emotionally. Do you feel stable? Do you feel that your emotions are all over the place? Being able to sit down and go through each one of these right out of the gate is going to be how you're able to go through each lesson and bring it back, because this is what we're building. This is your foundation. This is the basics. We're saying these are the 5 areas. These are your key components. We are building something here. And one without the other is not a strong foundation. In order to build on them, you have to know the structure. You have to know the compounds. So if we're going back to building a house, I have to know what is underneath before I build anything on top of it. So this one might take you an hour. This could take you 3 days. But I want you to sit with this one, and I really want you to spend some time to make those identifiers. Okay? So I'll see you next time.